Hey viewers, George here to do another impressional talking video of talks where I talk about things that are impressions of my first, on a video game of course. And this time around I'm talking about a game that I was really excited for when I heard about it in October, it would have been, called, oh, why did you do that to me? See, you try to set things up and they never work. Okay, there it is. It's for the PSP, I don't know if it'll show. It's called Corpse Party, Book of Shadows. This is the highly anticipated, I would say anticipated sequel of Corpse Party, which came out, a few years ago for the PSP. And, I'm just gonna put that there. And, wow, what a really interesting take for the sequel. So, for those of you who never heard of Corpse Party before, or have never played it, or what have you, basically what Corpse Party is, it's this horror survival-ish game, where the whole game's done in this 16-bit-esque style, with a bit of an RPG element to it, and the whole point was you had to take these kids that have been thrown into this ghostly dimension of the school that used to be, where their high school was, or is. And they have to survive, basically, because the whole point of this dimension is whoever comes in there dies. And, as you progress through, you try to make the characters survive, or what have you. And the whole game was actually really well put together. And, it was just such a fun and scary game, because it was fully voice acted by the Japanese cast. But there is the English subs to it, so you have like the little text on the bottom so you know what they're saying. But they have the original Japanese audio tracks, and although I don't speak Japanese, what's really great about the audio tracks is you can actually feel the emotion and everything through the voice acting and whatnot. So, needless to say, I really loved Corpse Party when I played it in October, when I downloaded and played it in October. And so when I heard there was the sequel that was coming out, I was like, oh god, I can't freaking wait. So, the sequel came out. What week would it have been out? I believe it came out on the 15th. And, very, very different game. So, the key difference, beyond the story, obviously, is, the game, rather than being the RPG-esque, bit style it was, before, this one plays out a little more like a visual novel with a bit of a point-and-click aspect to it. So you will travel through the school by going from room to room or area to area. And you'll look around, see if there's any useful stuff. And every once in a while, because there are very long parts where you are reading and then you have to make decisions off the fly or whatever. And that happens a lot, even just within the first chapter. The first chapter took me, like, oh, I don't have a clock there. I was playing it. It took me probably about 3 to 4 hours just to get through the first chapter, because there's a lot of text that obviously you got to read because you don't really understand the Japanese-ness to it. But there's a lot of reading to do. It's very story-driven in that sense, but of course at the same time it's very open. Before I get into some more of the gameplay mechanics, I should probably talk a little about the story. So, the game obviously takes place after the events of the first game, in a way. So basically what happens is, one of the characters that survived the first game, just in case you've never played the first one, I'm not going to spoil anything, I'm just going to say one of the characters survives. Obviously one of them had to, for there to be a sequel. But, anyways, and obviously this character's going through some huge emotional turmoil, because apparently what happened is all those who died in the dimension sort of became, like, erased from existence, if that makes any sense. And, like, no one knows who, like, so she's like, these people died, and oh my god, and, her parent, the person's parents, is like, what are you talking about? That person, who is this person? And, she has to go to, she your doctor? Shit, I'm ruining it. Has to go to, like, some therapies and whatnot because they're fucking messed up from seeing people die and whatnot. And obviously being a ghost dimension trying to survive, that does a bit on you as well, I guess. So that's where the game sort of opens up. But then, quickly, you're thrown right back from the start of the first game, and actually you get a huge more backstory. So, the first chapter is about, what the fuck, I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, Sonoko Namase, or something like that. Basically, if you play the first chapter of the first game, it's the two characters that you follow in the first chapter. And, so you get, like, backstory about what they were doing before they went to the school, and you get, like, a huge, like, bit of their friendship and whatnot. And, once, you get to the school, and you start realizing, wait a second, what's happening right now happened in the first chapter. And what's actually happens in the game is some of the characters are realizing that they've gone through these events before. So the whole point of this game is to try and avoid the events that happened in the first game. So the characters are trying to rewrite history in a sense to survive. So they'll be given like a second chance. And at first I was like, okay, so no one's gonna die in this one or anything, and you want to try and make like all the good decisions. So right away that sets things, and it's actually a really fun game if you can sort of put aside the fact that there's a lot of story that you have to dig through in order to start getting through the actual game to begin with. It's really fun. If you love the story in the first one, and you're gonna love it in this one. It's still very creepy. Definitely the creepy factor up there. The shock factor is still up there. Just everything in this game is still good, and I still really like it. I've only played the first chapter. I just actually beaten the first chapter, but there's a few chapters in there. There's some extras in there, as well as you play through and you've beaten chapters. You unlock these interviews with the voice cast and their take on with the game and the progress and shit like that. So that's really cool, and gives you some extra incentive to unlock things so you can actually get a bit more behind of what was going on when they were doing this. Because, like I said, the reason why this doesn't have an English dub is because the whole point of the voice acting is that raw emotional feel, and clearly the people who made this game and the people who brought it over and published it here knew that most people do not take kindly to the English dubs, and they tend to not be as well as the Japanese ones, because the Japanese ones were constructed originally for those purposes. At least that's my interpretation of it. Someone else can prove me wrong, whatever. So yeah, there's that. So a bit more about the gameplay mechanics in this. In the game, they've introduced a new feature called the Darkening Meter, which you can easily view in the menu system. And the whole point of it, in a way, it's sort of like a sandy meter. If your character witnesses things that probably aren't really good for a normal human being to see, their darkened meter goes up. And the whole point of the darkened meter is to almost open the multiple paths, because much like in the last game, there is like the good ending and the bad ending. And depending on how you manage the darkening meter, depends on whether or not you get the good or bad ending, or what have you. Of course, the decision making also goes in that. And on top of that, certain events will happen if your meter is at a certain point. Certain decisions will open up depending on, or close depending on what your darkening meter is at. So it's really an interesting of a way to like allow players to get those alternate paths if they work harder at trying to keep their meter low or keep it at like a steady pace or what have you. And that's really cool. So what else do I have to mention about this game? There's not a whole lot beyond that. Like, one of the problems I have, like, talking about this, apart from any other game I usually talk about, is that I don't want to spoil anything. You have to play this game right through without knowing what's going to happen. Because that's where a lot of the enjoyment of the game comes from, is exactly where is this story going to take you, where is this story going, and what your decisional outcomes will be and whatnot. So it's a very interesting game. Just my huge problem with the game, and I can guarantee this is going to turn so many people off, is the fact that it's hugely story driven. Like I said, it's basically a visual novel with point and click elements embedded in it. So that's probably going to turn people off, but that's how the game is. And it's not a bad decision, because you really want to see this story unfold, and they know that. And obviously, the fact that they did this allows them to focus more on those multiple paths, so like that way there's less room for the player to screw the mechanics up in that sense, I guess. I should also note this game is $20 as of this recording, which is, less than a week from its release date. So keep that in mind. If you're a little bit on the fence about this, you might want to wait till it goes down, or there's a PSN Plus deal to it or something like that. But if you really love the first one, you're probably going to really like this one, because the story's still there, the scary, creepy atmosphere of it's still there, and the characters are still there. And the entire time, you want these characters to live too, which is another big thing, is you want to see these characters survive this whole disaster. You're like, they've been given a second chance, let's not fuck it up. So, it's a great game. I highly recommend this, especially if you're a horror fanatic. If you're a horror fanatic and you've never played Corpse Party, play the first one and then play the second one, because the first one, you should probably play the first one before you even get to the second one, because a lot of the game's decision making relies on the fact that you've played the first one first before you've gone on and played this one, because they're trying to alter the timelines and whatnot of what happened in the first game to go more the way that they want to go. So a lot of times there'll be like these moments where it's like, you've been given the option to use an item that you could have used in the first one, but perhaps might have caused the disaster of someone's death, or like caused someone's death. So you want to try and avoid that or something like that. So it's really cool. I like it. Like I said, give it a look. Corpse Party: The Book of Shadows. It's a very interesting game. Story driven, like story heavily driven. It's cool. Until next time, keep on gaming. Woo!